Welcome to the Catholic Influencers Podcast, our very, very final episode of Season 4. Can you believe it, Georgia?
I can't believe it. It seems like it's gone quite quickly, although it's been excellent.
Amazing, 20, we did 20 episodes, is that right?
Yes, I suppose I did 10, but you did 20, and Alyssa did 10.
But it's just been amazing, just a blessing we've grown so much over the season. We've have I think almost, I'd say even 10 times the amount of listeners since we did at the beginning, thanks to you. And remember, please, to leave us a review on the platform you listen to, on iTunes or wherever you are. Leave us a review because that actually puts us up on the algorithm and allows us to be listened to by more people. And we're so grateful for that.
Yes, and say hello on Instagram as well, or ask us questions.
Yes, but this is not, even though it's the final episode of the season, we'll tell you at the end of the episode, but this is not the last you're going to hear from us. In fact, we have something very exciting over the next few weeks coming for you. So stay tuned and stay tuned. Is that what you say?
Stay tuned.
That's right.
Follow us on Instagram and tag your friends so they can follow us, and it's all going to be up there, the exciting news that's happening in the next couple of weeks.
Exactly, and we'll tell you at the end of this episode. Okay, so also this Sunday, we're preparing ourselves for a great feast. It's the Solemnity of Jesu Christu Universarum Regis. Do you know what that means, Georgia?
Please tell me. Tell everyone else.
It means the feast of Jesus Christ, the King of the universe. Christ the King. It's actually the end of ordinary time, and this is where we begin a new season. Here's another test for you. What season are we going to begin after this? Season 5 of the season 5 of the episode of the podcast. But what liturgical season is the season of Advent? We're starting Advent.
Yes, of course.
Yeah,
I was just testing to see if you knew, Father Rob.
That's right.
Advent.
And we're beginning, and that means we're getting close to Christmas.
Beautiful. I love
this year, 2020. Where has 2020 gone? I was just remembering, the last thing I remember was being in last December. I'm in disbelief at how this year has passed.
I feel like that too. I feel like I remember Christmas, and then I remember my last gig was in March. I was singing, and then the next week all the gigs were called off for the year, and I'm doing my first gig this Friday again. I'm back to singing live, which is great. But it's just gone, and I'm like, Christmas is here already. It's just crazy. It's gone quickly. It's gone quickly.
Just a big year for us, and I just feel sometimes that I've aged a year but haven't anything to show for it.
That's good.
I'll have to.
Oh no,
I haven't got that much sun and sort of aeroplane air conditioning, which ages me more. So I've had more time to hydrate my face, and so I hope I haven't aged too much over this year.
No, you haven't. No,
There's my vanity.
So I wear bronzer.
Yeah. You wear bronzer. Okay, no, I haven't worn bronzer.
But
okay,
it's
been
been such a big year, and I think although it feels for some people like it's gone on a long time because of all the challenges, it has always seemed like it's gone quickly because things haven't been moving as fast, I think. So it's interesting. Anyway.
It is. 2020 is one to go down in history.
Oh, yeah.
I imagine I can imagine how many films and how many books are going to be written about 2020, the year of the pandemic. Hopefully 2021 things will get back to normal again.
Yeah.
Here's praying, here's hoping. And again, while we do this, things go back to normal. Also, our compassion, our love for others, our love for Jesus, hopefully is much bigger, greater, stronger. And so let's start with the gospel. Let's read the gospel of this feast of Christ the King. And in fact, it starts off, keep this in mind as the gospel starts off. It starts off with the proclamation of this feast, the proclamation of what we celebrate, this special solemnity.
Beautiful. When the Son of Man comes in his glory, and all the angels with him, he will sit on his glorious throne. All the nations will be gathered before him, and he will separate people from one another, as a shepherd separates the sheep from the goats. He will put the sheep on his right and the goats on his left. Then the King will say to those on the right, "Come, you who are blessed by my Father. Take your inheritance, the kingdom prepared for you since the creation of the world. For I was hungry, and you gave me something to eat. I was thirsty, and you gave me something to drink. I was a stranger, and you invited me in. I needed clothes, and you clothed me. I was sick, and you looked after me. I was in prison, and you came to visit me. Then the righteous will answer him, Lord, when did we see you hungry and feed you, or thirsty and give you something to drink? When did we see you a stranger and invite you in, or needing clothes and clothe you? When did we see you sick, or in prison and go to visit you? The king will reply, Truly I tell you, whatever you did for one of the least of these brothers and sisters of mine, you did for me. Then he will say to those on his left, Depart from me, you who are cursed, into the eternal fire, prepared for the devil and his angels. For I was hungry, and you gave me nothing to eat. I was thirsty, and you gave me nothing to drink. I was a stranger, and you didn't invite me in. I needed clothes, and you didn't clothe me. I was sick and in prison, and you didn't look after me. They also will answer, Lord, when did we see you hungry or thirsty or a stranger or needing clothes or sick in prison and did not help you? He will reply, Truly I tell you, whatever you did not do for one of the least of these, you did not do for me. Then they will go away to eternal punishment, but the righteous to eternal life.
And this is taken from Matthew 25:31 to 46. A beautiful gospel, a scary gospel. Over the last few weeks, it has been just very confronting. You see, one is that Jesus has been acknowledging the existence of hell. He's been acknowledging the existence of the devil, Satan. He has been acknowledging the existence of the fact that we can be separated from him for all eternity by the choices we make in this life. And the thing is, we can depend on the mercy of God. We totally love Jesus, and we know that he wants us to get to heaven. But we need to know, as Christians, even people who are in relationship with God, we need to know that hell exists. And that if we are not holding on to Christ and we're not obeying Christ, and this is the thing, it's not only holding on to Jesus and his mercy and keep asking for forgiveness, which is important, but we need to obey him. And here he makes a very, very clear command to us of what we need to do to inherit the kingdom of heaven. There's a demographic, there's a people that we need to focus on, that we need to reach out to, that we need to die to self for in order to inherit eternal life.
And he
Crazy
literally,
stuff.
and he literally says it, like it says that this, and it really is a huge thing to think about, that when Jesus comes, we are going to be judged on the way we've lived, on the way we've lived our life, you know,
and the way we've lived our life as well, in particular here, reaching out to the poor. The poor people, but who, we'll talk a little bit about this a bit later. Who are the poor? That, like when we talked about loving our neighbor, who is our neighbor? But who are the poor? Yes, absolutely. This is maybe more clear, more obvious than who is our neighbor, but Jesus is being very clear here that we're going to be judged according to our reaction to human need. That it's not about what we know. It's not about what we acquire, the knowledge we acquire. It's not even about how good we are. No one ever said in the scripture, you know, Jesus never said that we will get to heaven because we are good people. There are many good people in hell.
Because you can have good intentions, but it's actually your conduct. It's actually what you do. That's what we're going to be judged on. Exactly.
Yeah. It's not. You see, it's about being people of integrity, people who are living out of overflow for the love of God. Now, when I say that there are good people in hell, it means there are people who actually didn't live generously. You can be good and be selfish. You can be a good person and live for yourself. You can be a good person and neglect the poor. You can be a good person and then behind sort of hidden closed doors, you're doing things that are not according to the will of God. And so this is the thing. It's not what people see of us. It's at the end of the day where our heart is. Are we overflowing for compassion, for love? And are we reaching out to those who are in need? And this is something I question myself.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I don't know about you, but I don't think about the poor all the time. I don't.
No.
I don't think about those in need all the time. I often think about myself, and I can guarantee that every single day of my life I'm thinking about myself because I'm a human being.
Yes.
But I cannot guarantee that every day I'm thinking about the poor, the broken, those in need.
Yeah. And I think it's something that, as you said, we would just have to, that's why we need Jesus so much, because the more that we lean into Jesus and pray, the more that we can, study his scripture, the more he shows us what we're meant to do. And as you said, it comes out of an overflow of his grace and love. And therefore it's really authentic when you're helping people, in that way. And I think that's, obviously like this part of the gospel, part of Matthew, we've been building up to it. And, Jesus has been talking to the disciples about the last judgment and teaching them what he wants us to do. The things that he taught them is what is relevant today, is what he wants us to do. Helping the poor, helping the sick. And I think it's really interesting how they say in the gospel, but, the righteous say, well, but we didn't see you. What do you mean? We're helping the poor and the sick, but you weren't there. And that's, he was saying, yes, you were helping me. Whatever you did for the least of them, you were helping me. I was there. And
yes.
Yeah.
And so this is again like what you were saying just before, is that Jesus now is focusing on the end times. He's focusing. Before he was focused on sort of beginning his ministry in the book of Matthew, and then he confronts the scribes and the Pharisees, and he's saying that, hey, Moses is not the most important person, but I am, Jesus is.
Yes.
And then he gets his apostles, he's preparing his apostles for the crucifixion. But now he's this is the last message he's saying it, like he's warning his people, okay, you are going to perish if you're going to continue living for yourself. He's warning. And this is the eschatological conversation. So the conversation about the end times, the parousia we talked about last week.
Yes.
Okay, the second coming of Christ, being ready for Jesus. And we're going to talk about how we can get ready for people, for Jesus. And Jesus has given us a shortcut to knowing his heart. And the shortcut is given us, the gift is given us. Yes, the sacraments, these are beautiful ways in which God has reached out to us, and ordinary ways. What I mean is like the ways that are direct to Jesus.
Yes.
But he's also given us another powerful gift, and that is the poor. The poor. And the poor are Jesus in this world, the presence of Jesus in this world, and he makes it so clear in this gospel. So let's just talk quickly about three things about reaching out to the poor. The first thing is that when God asks us to reach out to the poor, it doesn't mean that all of a sudden you sell everything and now you go to the missionary field in Tanzania.
Yes.
It's to help the poor is to help in simple things. It is feeding the hungry, welcoming the stranger, and it's about helping the sick, and it's about visiting the prisoner. All of this simple help, but we can do that. How do we do that? Like in Australia?
In Australia, well, that's it. I was having a chat to my friend who's a priest one day, and I said, if as a Christian I want to give up things and move away and try and like live holy for Jesus. And he said you can do that, but you can also in Australia do it if you're wherever you're working. You could be working at a bank, and you could be being kind and serving the people around you. Every person is going to have something that they're dealing with, whether they've lost someone in their family or they're seeking God or they've got relationship problems or anything. And I remember he said wherever you are, you could be at a bank, you could be at a hairdresser, you could be at a school, you could be a teacher, but there will be poor there if you look for them. But if you've got your blinkers on and you're just thinking about yourself, you're going to miss the secretary at the school you're working at that needs that love. So that's my answer. I don't know what you think.
And I think like we have a big campaign in Australia called Beyond Blue.
Yes.
And this is a campaign. It's all about people with depression. You know, people suffering from depression and suicide. They have these big and one of the part of their campaign is the "Are You Okay" Day. And so, but since they've started this campaign, it's just been so fascinating to me, the awareness they're bringing about how much poverty there actually is in our workplace, in the world around us, because we don't ask each other, "Are you okay?" We don't ask. We look out the people, for example, that as a priest I bury who have committed suicide.
Yeah.
We're all people that were seemingly happy, that were seemingly affluent, that were seemingly living a life that was extraordinary in some cases. But they
Poor
were
in
dying
spirit.
inside.
Yeah.
They were poor. They were dying inside. And now it's the problem is that Australia has one of the highest suicide rates from the ages of 15 to 35, one of the highest in the world. Why? And I think it's because we're a people who don't look out for the poor. We don't know how to recognize the poor because we're so consumed by our own lives. We're so consumed by our own needs that we don't reach out to the poor. We don't want to be bothered. We don't want to live and welcome the stranger and feed the hungry, because we're thinking, no, there are charities that do that. There are
Yeah, it's
other
always
times.
someone else will look after that. And Mother Teresa said that in her book. She said Australia was the poorest country she came to, not in terms of financial poverty, but of spiritual poverty, that so many people didn't know they were loved, and people had money and food and everything they needed. But, you know, in the countries where people were maybe struggling for food and money, they had community and they were looking after each other. I think it's pretty,
Exactly.
yeah.
And we're and the United States too, you know, and United States is becoming more and more of an individualistic nation. And by necessity, for example, the price of property is too expensive. So say you live in San Francisco, a young person cannot live next to their parents in San Francisco because it's too expensive. They can't afford it. So they have to move to Texas. They have to move to places in, I don't know, California is very expensive, but they have to move away. And
Yes.
that is bringing isolation. That's what happened in Australia, and that's what's happening in Australia. But I've noticed even through 2020, by the grace of God, families are coming together. Even though they were separated, they are coming together. People are thinking, hey, actually, family is the most important thing.
Yeah, let's connect and let's let go of that thing we're upset about and let's connect. Absolutely.
Yes. And so that, again, reaching out to the poor is very much connected with that word you just said. Yet connect with connecting with people. The second thing is that our generosity needs to be uncalculating. We need to give because we cannot help ourselves out of overflow, knowing the generosity that God met us in our poverty. And as a consequence, as a result, we want to help out other people.
To help others. And it's not, you know, as you're saying, it's like, it's not calculated. We're not helping someone because it makes us feel good, which that's naturally what happens when you help someone. It does. It makes you feel good. You go, oh, I helped that person. But it's got to be from that overflow of knowing God's love, and then therefore you want to help people, and also knowing that God's asking that of us. Like when he comes in the final day, we don't know when that's going to be. It could be tomorrow, it could be in 10 years. You know, he's going to ask us, he's going to judge us on our conduct. Did you help people, or did you just live a life for yourself? And it's quite it's very, what's the word? Challenging, powerful.
Confronting, yeah.
Confronting is a good word.
Yes. Yes,
Yeah.
it is. And look, I love, for example, our Catholic education system in Australia. Our Catholic education system here is very social justice oriented, okay? And we do a lot in our Catholic education systems and our schools. We do a lot of helping the poor. We partner with charities like Caritas, and we do a lot of work, even organize trips to help the poor, immersions, and all of this. But having been a chaplain for so many years with young people, a lot of these people, young people, are sent on these mission trips, are sent to visit prisons, that are sent to help the poor to go onto the streets. But they become isolated, feel-good events. And this is the
Yes.
danger, you see, because giving to the poor can so easily, and helping the poor can so easily be about allowing ourselves to feel good, allowing our conscience to be cleared. And now I'm not criticizing that we do these things, but what Jesus is saying is that our generosity needs not only to be an event here and there, it has to be out of overflow. Our whole attitude is that we want to give, we want to serve, we want to be generous to other people.
Yes.
And it's because God is generous to us. So whether I'm helping someone on an immersion trip or I'm helping someone in my office, as you said, it should bring about the same joy. It should bring about the same sort of reaction in our lives, that it shouldn't be isolated events that make us feel good for a 2-week trip to Fiji or something like that.
It's a way of life. It's like what people say about exercise programs. People go really hard for 6 weeks and then they give up. It's, it's when the best sort of most effective exercise programs, when someone just says, this for the rest of my life, this is how I'm going to live. I'm going to be healthy and I'm going to exercise. And I think it's the same. I'm going to, as a Catholic, as a Christian, I'm going to wake up every day and pray, and I'm going to serve people. This is just my way of life because I know what God's done for me. I need to share this treasure. I want to share this treasure of Jesus.
Yes.
And therefore it's from that rather than, go and, which is great to do soup kitchens, is amazing, but I'll do that one night a week and that's my tick. It's like, how can we do that and help the next door neighbor and help, yeah.
Yes, and give, as again to quote Mother Teresa, to give until it hurts, and to quote Mother Teresa again as well, it's charity that begins at home.
Yes.
You see, charity begins at home. And it's like you're saying, Georgia, it's a lifestyle. It's a lifestyle.
Yeah.
So giving has to be a lifestyle. Jesus asks this person, why didn't you give to the poor? Why didn't you feed me? And the person in the story says, if I had known it was you, I would have given it to you. I would have given it. But why would have this person given to Jesus if they had known?
Yes, because then they would know that they would get a reward because it's Jesus.
Yes.
But if they didn't know, if they were just doing it for that person, that sick person on the side of the road, or that, person in prison, there's no reward at that moment. It might make you feel good, but they didn't. If they had have known it was Jesus, they would have known that it would have affected their eternity.
Their salvation, their eternity,
salvation.
Right? That's right.
Yeah, which is what this whole thing's about.
So the motive is not about being saved and about going to heaven, but it's about feeding the heart of the children of God, that every poor person, every broken person, every isolated person, every person who's alone, who needs help, who's poorer than we are, is a person who is a child of God. And that brings joy to the heart of God when we do that, when we feed his children, when we reach out to his children. And it also breaks the heart of God when we neglect the children of God.
Yes.
So we need to be a people. I mean, I just think about Saint Francis, Saint Francis of Assisi, and he was just riding on a horseback, and as he was going through, he sees this leper who was stinky, who was smelly, who was like fingers falling off, and you don't go next to this leper. But he just felt so much love and compassion for this person that he got off his horse and he started, and he went to hug this leper.
Amazing.
He went to hug this leper.
Yes.
And when he hugged this leper, after he hugged this leper, he looked at the leper's face and he saw the face of Jesus.
Wow.
And those were one of his converting moments, that yes, I want to do this because I recognize that Jesus is in the poor. But his first motive, again, was just simply
Jesus.
the love of the poor.
The love of the poor, yes. And is that before he went to his dad and said, I don't want your multi-million-dollar company. I want to.
This is as he was growing and growing in compassion and deciding to give his life. And there was also another saint, Martin of Tours, who also went to, he was a soldier and he was coming from war. And as he was coming, there was this beggar again that was asking for money.
Yes.
And he didn't have money. But it was a freezing night, and he saw that this beggar was freezing. And so what he did was he took his cloak and he cut it in half, and it was already torn to pieces. He cut it in half and he put it over this beggar and sat with the beggar and then left.
Amazing.
That night he had a dream, and he sees a picture of Jesus. And Jesus in all of his glory is wearing this tattered half cloak that Martin gave this beggar.
Wow.
And the angels were telling him, like, why are you wearing this tattered cloth. You could wear all the gold, all the silver as you want. But Jesus said, no. This was given to me today by Martin. And it's just, again, when we are building, we're doing this for Jesus. We love Jesus. We want to serve Jesus. But again, imagine we had such a love for the poor. Imagine we had love for the poor. Like, that was crazy.
And as you said, like, I think something that really just came into my heart before was, the more time we spend with Jesus through these things that he's given us, like, confession and, communion and adoration and all these beautiful things, this time we can spend, he will give us that gift. It always comes back to that, like Jesus will help us, I know myself, I'm sitting here or someone listening thinking, well, I don't feel like I'm there. Well, that's the thing. It's going to come from God. He's going to, Jesus changes hearts. He changes, the next door neighbor that frustrates you, he'll change your heart for them.
Yes, exactly. And this is the way God works. God is a loving God. God is a God who gives us joy as we serve the poor. And we'll talk about some practical ways in which we can do that.
Beautiful.
But we'll soon go to our topic, but let's start. We get every week you send us blessings, you send us things that have blessed your life. And we would love to hear about this even for the next season. Send us your blessings on social media or even dad jokes. And so we have this week a blessing and also a dad joke given to us by our listeners. So Georgia, over to you for the blessing this week.
Yeah, this blessing this week came from Carmen. She emailed us and she says, I have been blessed this week with a beautiful granddaughter. Congratulations, Carmen. Wow. My daughter was so sick with morning sickness and I felt that the only thing I could do is pray for her. I prayed the rosary just about every day and asked for prayers from you. So this must have been the FRG ministry, Father Rob. She delivered a beautiful, healthy baby girl with a 4-hour labor with no medical intervention. Praise God. Beautiful.
Yeah, praise the Lord. You see, this is such beautiful. This is amazing.
Amazing.
Amazing what God does.
That's my Australian accent. Amazing.
Yeah. But God is so good and he blesses us. And sometimes we don't recognize the blessings in our lives because we're not still enough. That joke. Okay.
Go, Father Rob.
Here, this was submitted to us through Instagram by Yonin.
Yes.
And it says this. Does anyone remember the joke I made about the chiropractor?
No.
It was about a week back. A week back.
A week back.
Okay. When you have to explain a dad joke, it sort of loses it, doesn't it? But it is good. Thank you, Yonin, for this joke. We love dad jokes.
Send them in. Send in the dad jokes. Send them in.
Yes, the worse the better. I just keep them clean, please. We've had one submitted to us that wasn't that's not Catholic influencers were
approved. Doesn't have the gold star.
So we're going to talk about what's our topic this week.
Okay, so obviously because the gospel's on such a huge topic, the Last Judgment, and so many themes out of that was, that God's going to, judge us on how we've lived and how we've helped the poor. So our topic is Jesus and the poor. Yeah.
Jesus and the poor.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we'll talk about charity helping the poor.
Yes. Who are the poor? So I think the first thing is, what does it mean? Yeah. Who are the poor?
As we've already established, like the poor can be those who are broken, those who are in our workplace. The poor are also the poor who are financially poor, reaching out to those who are in need. We are affluent. Even the fact that you're listening to this podcast, that you have the means to listen to it, you're better off than maybe 90% of the rest of the world. So they say what? If you have a fridge in your house, then you're better off than 90% of the world. Wow. And we have so much, and because we've been given so much, we have the responsibility also to give out of overflow, out of generosity.
Yes.
But I'm going to talk about 4 ways. We'll talk about 4 ways in which we can give. Quickly, about practical ways in which we can give.
Ways.
The first one is financial. Okay, this is not everything, but
because not everyone can actually give financial.
Yeah, not everyone can.
Yeah.
But not everyone can give a lot, but everyone can give a little. Okay, one of the things that we can do, and this is one of the things, because it is a command from Jesus to help the poor. In the Old Testament, we talk about tithing, giving 10%. This is what I do. I put aside 10, and I do the same with our ministry as well. I have a separate bank account or whatever, where I put 10% of every cent, gross, okay, not net, of every cent that comes in.
Yep.
I put aside to give to the poor. Because I think this is so important for us. Now, you think, at the moment I cannot afford it. This is where we have to trust in the providence of God.
Yes.
Okay? There are moments we cannot afford it. But I think if we don't give to the poor, I do believe this. I believe that we're stealing from God. Okay? That we need, God has commanded us, has given us enough money, even if you're in debt and whatever, we still can be generous. Now, not to the point where you're going to get yourself in trouble, but be generous. And one of the ways is just to put a big piggy bank, put something, we have a priest in our diocese who asks for 5-cent coins. He collects 5-cent coins, and we have many of those in our cars. And
that's awesome.
And what he does is he puts them, and every 3 months he cashes them, so to speak, and sends them to the poor.
That's great.
So there are little things we can do.
I had a friend one year, she, instead of having her daily coffee, which in Australia is between $3 and $5, depending on how large your coffee is, and then instead of having that, she raised the money, and at the end of the year, she gave the money to a charity that she felt compassionate about, you know. So she didn't have heaps of money, so she just sacrificed a little thing that was her something. Yeah.
And it's not only during like Lent. We can do this throughout the year.
Yeah.
Even selling stuff in your house that you are not using to give to the poor.
Yes.
To give even something that you... Anyway, financial, that's quite important. I think it's important that the second thing is our time. We need to give time.
Yeah.
But in order to give time, you have to plan ahead. You can't just say, I'm going to give time. You have to make the time, plan ahead. I'm going to help a local charity. I'm going to give some time to mow the lawn of an elderly person.
Cook for your neighbor if they're unwell, or, you know.
Make time to make a phone call. Yes, someone who's unwell. And so giving to the poor requires time and regular time. I'm not just talking about once a year. Regular time, once a month, once a week. Make sure you put time ahead to do something for someone else, for the poor, for those who are less fortunate than yourself.
Yes. I've mentioned before, Father Rob, that I have worked in, you know, prison for a couple of years, and sometimes just sitting with the boys in there, they just want to talk. They just want time. They just want someone to talk to. Nothing, you know, sometimes nothing serious. It's just a conversation, but it's that time that you've spent with someone, just sitting beside them and just listening to their story, you know?
Yes.
Yeah.
Uncalculated, like you're saying, you know, just be present. Don't think about your next meeting or the things that you have to do or how busy you are. Just be there, be generous, be present. We have, for example, some homeless people in my parish, and they often come to the door, and I just sit with them. And I talk with them and I listen to them. And in fact, to the point where, because I'm starting to think that people actually don't listen. So they come and they ask for me. And it's before Mass, they're sitting in the sacristy having a conversation with me while I'm vesting. And then they leave the sacristy when I'm about to go for Mass. Then they sit with me after Mass. People are so desperate for time. But people are not giving others time. So the third thing is to speak out. To speak out, is particularly about justice issues. Don't be quiet. Don't keep quiet. You have a platform. You have your social media. You have your people around you. Speak out. If you see an injustice in this world, don't let others do it. Don't wait for others to stand up for the unborn, to stand up for those who are broken, who are being mistreated, for those who are destroying other people's lives. Speak out.
And it's hard because you're not always going to be popular. One of my friends is very vocal on Facebook about the unborn and the laws and things like that. And it's so courageous because she gets a lot of backlash from that. But, you know, she said to me, I don't care because it's about the defenseless, the unborn that can't, you know, they can't defend themselves. And even if one person hears that and gets convicted about it, that's enough, you know.
Yes.
So, yeah.
And again, of course, one of the things that I very much believe is that we have to be holistic. Okay, there's
Yes.
not only one social issue; there are many issues. Yes, there are some issues that are worse than others, but we need to be. Jesus is he loves all people and all social justice issues. Let's speak out, especially where we have influence. The fourth thing, which is quite important, is the way our purchase choices, the way we look after the environment, the way we use reusable plastics, the way we help the environment and we consume things,
Recycling.
electricity, yes, our cars, our fuel. Why? Because destroying the environment, and I'm not talking about climate change, but throwing, for example, even using face masks and having animals getting stuck in the loops of the face masks, and having beer bottles and cans and plastic bags thrown into the ocean, that is destroying the livelihood of those in need as well.
Yes.
Okay, we're making the world a more poor place, a place where the rich become richer and the poor become poorer. So also the way we look after the environment, the choices we make day after day, the things we consume, even being careful who you buy from. I'm a very big advocate of buying local, ethical brands. Buy local. Yes. So don't support clothing that uses sweatshops. Don't support clothing that is not giving, or coffee that is not giving the worker their wages. So these are the things, the ways we can. It will cost us more to buy ethical coffee. But at the end of the day, we're giving to the poor in that way. We're helping those who are in need.
Yeah, it's all those different choices, isn't it? And I think, as you said, sometimes we can think it's someone else's problem. Like, it's someone else's problem. My friend the other day, she went to the beach and she had 5 bags of rubbish. And she put a photo up on Facebook and she said, this is something that I've never done, because she's always been so busy, and 2020's given her a little bit of time to do those things. But she said, this is something I always thought someone else was doing. But my local beach is just littered with rubbish, and obviously, it goes into the sea and the fish get caught and they die. And it's just it's a cycle, and it affects everyone and everything in the world,
And I believe this. I believe that Jesus will look at us and tell us, look, the things you did to the least of these, you've done for me.
Yes.
The fish that you saved that allowed to feed someone else, the coffee beans that you allowed for someone to pay to support their family. We will be judged by all of this, not only the things we see directly, but the choices we make as well. Okay, so let's finish off here. We've been going a while. We have a few exciting announcements for you, and that I want to talk about.
Should we do the challenge first, Father Rob?
Let's do the challenge. What's the challenge this week?
So based on this gospel that we've been talking about, and the Last Judgment, and also how we can serve the poor more, our challenge for you this week, for ourselves and for everyone listening, is how can we serve Jesus in the poor this week? So how can you serve Jesus in the poor? And we'll put it up on Instagram so you can remember and have a think. I'm thinking about it already. We
gave 4 suggestions, but there are so many more ways, and we'd love to hear from you ways in which you are finding yourself able to help the poor.
Yes.
This is the season finale. This is the final episode of this season, but it is not the last episode. Not next week, we're taking a week off, but the following week we're going to have 2 special episodes. Tell us, Georgia, a little bit about these 2 episodes.
This is really exciting. So we obviously listen to the feedback that people give us, don't we, Father Rob? Listen, myself and Father Rob, and we listen to what you guys want to hear about. And some people wanted a special episode. It's Catholic Influences 101. It's like going right back to the basics of our faith, right back. So for anyone listening that has a friend that might feel like some of the podcasts have gone deeper than they understand at the moment, the issues or scripture, this is going right back to the basics of who Jesus is. And I won't give it all away. But anything else I should say?
Make sure you tune in.
Yes.
So this is 2 episodes, but the second episode, we're going to have you with us. So this is exclusive for our ministry partners. So those of you who contribute to this ministry and allow us to produce these podcasts. If you go to frgministry.com/ministry partner, without the S, ministry partner, you can join there for as little as, I think it's $5 a month. And you allow us to continue our work. For those who are ministry partners, you can join us live for this recording. So on Zoom, we'll send you a Zoom link and you can come in and you can ask questions and we can have a conversation, and we'll actually be recording the podcast. Myself, Georgia, and Alyssa together will be in the studio. We'll be recording.
In the same room in 2020.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
We're finally allowed. And we will have you as well with us live. So if you're interested in that, go to frgministry.com/ministry partner to become a partner, and all partners will be given this link. Also, another exciting thing is that FRG Ministry has just launched and released our School of Prayer. This is our second online course. The first one is Knowing Mary, which was a whole course about Mary. Now we have School of Prayer, which is a course on how to pray. How do we pray? It starts with the very basics about what prayer is, and then goes through 6 different methods of prayer and how we can practice them. And we actually even pray with you and teach you how to pray in these, to bring about a habit of prayer in your life. So that's frgministry.com/School of Prayer.
Amazing.
Any other announcements?
Just that we're just thankful for everyone who's listened, and keep sharing it with people, and so they can tune in, and we're just thankful for a great season, really.
Yes.
More
Follow us
of
on
knowing
social
Jesus.
media. Yeah, exactly. Follow us on social media.
Yes.
FRG what's
Catholic
at Catholic Influencers.
Yes.
Catholic
I said
Influencers
underscores.
_. Yeah, so the at Catholic Influencers _ or go to Facebook, Catholic Influencers, look for us there. frgministry.com/podcast. And if you'd like to support us as well, go to frgministry.com/donate. So many links. If you just go to frgministry.com, they're all linked there.
And just go to the Catholic Influencers Instagram, and that's there too.
Exactly.
Excellent.
So again, thank you so much for listening. Happy Feast of Jesu Christi Universarum Regis, Christ the King. I hope you have a wonderful and a blessed night. And thank you for listening for the whole season. Ta-da, goodbye, ciao, benvenuto. No, that's welcome.
Arrivederci.
Arrivederci from us at Catholic Influencers.
Thank you.
And God bless you.